Hi, everybody. Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching. And I just got off a call with a client, and I then had a second call with somebody from our Training Meg webinar talking about, he wants his leaders to learn how to coach, but they want to use AI to deliver that. And I'm all for it. We build AI tools. So, by the way, I'm very casual because I'm doing this in our condo in Door County, Wisconsin. I'm on vacation, but a lot of times when I'm off and on vacation, and I'll have a few coaching calls, not the whole time. It really gives me time to think and reflect on, what's a good piece of content that would hopefully help people. When I had these conversations and I asked the person who was in charge of finding an AI tool, they wanted my advice on using AI to coach their leaders to coach. And I said, so what is inhibiting your leaders from coaching? And they looked at me and they said, what do you mean? I said, well, what objections do you get to coaching? Number one, it's always time. And I said, okay. And I said, what else? Well, can't think of anything. I said, okay. I said, would you agree that they'll struggle to know what to say and do? And they said, yeah, but that's why we're using AI. I said, right. So they're now going to know how to use AI, interact with the chatbot, which I'm all for. We have our own tools. But I said, what's going to happen when their employees come to them? What do you think they're going to do? And they kind of looked at me puzzled. And I said, do you think that they might come back to you and ask for an AI tool so the employees get coached? And they said, well, yeah, we could see that happening. I said, okay, who's doing the end of the year review? And the facial expressions, the jaws dropping, and like, wow. I go, I'm not against AI. What we have to be very careful of is to not give ourselves permission not to have human-based conversations. If we do, it is going to create a firestorm. So there's some fundamental numbers. 42% of people plus, now it's plus, some of the numbers have gone higher, are actively looking for jobs due to lack of career coaching. So we're going to take a risk on AI to do that for us successfully without even seeing it? Because they're going to do it on their own. 85% of people lack self-awareness. They're going to arbitrarily go to an AI tool and say, I don't give feedback well. I don't take feedback well. My career's in the toilet. I got passed over for promotions. I'm pissed off about it. Not going to happen. So what we have to do, everybody, is think about strategy of how to use AI to make coaching easier. How do we make it easier for leaders? How do we make it easier for employees to become coached, to become coachable and approachable? It's not easy. So that's one of the things that I share with everybody is that you have to have a strategy. So let me give you some of ours. Our main strategy is how do we make coaching easier for leaders? We teach employees approachability and coachability. We also have AI interactive courses that assist in that, but we don't solely rely on it. We give our clients both choices. Number two, nothing replaces. And there's a lot of great tools. I mean, there's a great company called Interflection. They have a great practice platform. It's phenomenal. Two guys, John and John, just two of the greatest guys in the world. Phenomenal tool. Nothing replaces human-based conversation because it's going to be imposed on us every single day. You know how I know that? How often do people come to your door, knock on the door and say, hey, boss, got a second? We know it's going to be about 22 minutes. It's about 88 minutes a day. The 3 or 4 people don't see the other people come in. And what happens is that causes us to rush as leaders. We don't have the conversations that we want to. So last week, I had a conversation with somebody, and I want to introduce you to a concept called emotional interpretation. I believe it is the number one hindrance to the workplace because it prompts us not to have cooperation, collaboration, and conversations of conflict that are very plausible. So what I mean by that is emotional interpretation is at the most foundational level to understand is think about the little league parent, right? The kid's not playing. What's the parent's first response? I got to go talk to the coach. What they're really asking for is please play my kid to make it easier on me for emotionally. Because my interpretation is I'm watching my kid struggle. I got to go fix that. We are all guilty of that as parents. So in the workplace, when we have something that is said to us that we don't like, what do we typically do? We don't calm down. We don't say, gosh, I'm going to reflect. The guy thinks I'm a jerk. That's good insight. No, we start to tell our own story. We start to tell our own narrative. So last week when I had this conversation, the gentleman said to me, my boss never, ever gives me a compliment. I said, how long have you worked for him? He goes, 4 years. I said, so I'm going to state something back to you. And I smiled, and I did that strategically. I smiled and I said, so according to you, he's never given you a compliment. Ever, 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 ever. Don't say anything. And you chose to stay for 4 years. And he sat there and he goes, yeah, it's he has complimented me. So what happens when we're in a state of frustration, confusion, emotion, we go to these manic levels. I just heard a boss a couple months ago in one of our cohorts say this employee's never on time, never. I said, he's never on time and you chose to keep him as an employee? He goes, well, yeah, probably, it's not all the time. We put our own spin on things. How often do we get misrepresentation of factual information? So when you go home to your spouse and you say, my boss yelled at me, he was a jerk. Do our spouses really look at us and go, honey, you're kind of a jackass. I haven't met your boss. Seems like a good guy. No, they're there to support us, which starts the spinning process of, I got it off my chest. I'm not really dealing with it. Got it off my chest. I transferred it to someone. It's my spouse. And oh, by the way, the spouse is going to tell me what I want to hear subconsciously. This is awesome because now I know it's not me. So what we have to realize is AI is not going to diffuse emotions. It might take some emotion out of it. If an AI agent is coaching and asking good questions, it may neutralize some of the emotions I just talked about, but make sure you have a strategy. What are your thoughts? Put some comments in here. Let us know.